everyone, my name is Miss Danielle. Thank you so much for joining me for today's program. Today we are going to be creating fireworks in a jar with mainly water, oil, and food coloring. So what you're going to need is an empty jar. If you have an empty mason jar, that's good. I did not have one at home, so I am using just an empty glass that I had. You just want to make sure that whatever you're using is see-through. So you want to make sure it's clear, otherwise you won't be able to see the fireworks happening. You're also going to need cooking oil. We'll need 3 tablespoons of it. I'm using canola oil. If you don't have that, that's okay. Any cooking oil that you have will work. You'll need an empty bowl. You'll need food coloring, and you'll need a spoon, and I would suggest having paper towels on hand because it can get a little bit messy. So, first thing you're going to do is fill your glass jar, or in my case, my glass cup, about 3/4 of the way with water. Once you do that, we're going to set it aside for now. We'll come back to it later. Then, in our empty bowl, we are going to put in 3 tablespoons of whatever cooking oil you have. So you're going to measure out 3 tablespoons. It is okay if it's not perfect. If you're a little bit off, that's okay. It will still work. So once you have the 3 tablespoons of canola oil or cooking oil in your bowl, then you're going to add the food coloring. I would suggest 3 to 5 drops of each color that you use. So if you only use one color, I would say do more than that. I'm using 4 colors, yellow, green, blue, and red. So I've done this a few times already, and I found that 5 drops of each of my colors gave me the right amount for my glass. If you have a bigger glass, you may want to add more droplets, but it's totally up to you how many droplets of each color you want to add. Also, if you have more colors than the 4 I have, maybe you want to add less, maybe you want to add the same amount I did. It's up to you. Either way, it will work. So you're just going to I'm going to add 5 droplets of each color right into my oil. You don't have to put them anywhere specific in the oil because we are going to mix them around anyway. Okay. So once I do that, you should have, sometimes they spread apart, but you should have big droplets of food coloring in your oil. Now you're going to take your spoon and you're going to mix it up. And when you mix it up, it's going to break those big droplets into a lot of little droplets. And that's what you want. So if you end up with a lot of little droplets, that's good. We want to see those big droplets broken up. So now we're going to take that water that you set aside earlier, and we're going to mix these 2 together. So you're going to take your oil and food coloring mixture and very slowly you're going to add it to your glass of water. Now after a minute or 2, you should see the food coloring will start to move. Right now you can see that there is a layer of oil at the top of the glass over the water, and then all of the water underneath. But now you can see the food coloring is starting to move. It's leaving the oil and shooting into the water, giving off a fireworks effect. So what's happening here is that we're learning that the food coloring will mix with the water, but it won't mix with the oil. And that's because traditional food coloring is water-based. So on top of that, the reason why the oil sits on top of all of the water and doesn't mix with it is because oil and water have very different densities. So the oil is less dense than the water, which means it's going to sit or float on top of the water, which is why you have that whole layer of oil over your water. But the food coloring is more dense than the oil. So when you add in the oil and food coloring mixture into the water, the food coloring is going to sink to the bottom of the oil, and then it's going to shoot into the water because the food coloring is water-based. So now that's going to mix with the water, and eventually your cup or your jar is going to start to look like that because all the food coloring is going to mix together inside the water and just create a very dark color. But before that, if you keep an eye on your jar, you'll see the food coloring shoot out of the oil and into the water, creating those fireworks inside the jar. Now, the food coloring will continue to do that until it has all left the oil. So as long as there is food coloring still in that oil layer, it will continue to shoot out of the oil and into the water. If the first time you do this, your water starts out like this, if you remember when I poured in the mixture, the water was still a little bit clear. But if your water looks like that and is very dark, you might have poured in the oil too fast. So you can dump this out and start it again. Just make sure this time you pour that oil mixture in very slowly so that it doesn't mix together right away. We want to be able to see those colors leaving the oil and going into the water. Also, if you find that there weren't enough colors, maybe the next time you add in more colors or more droplets of food coloring. Maybe you want to try it with just one color of food coloring rather than multiple colors. However you want to do it is right. There is no real right or wrong way. It's all how you want to do it, what you want it to look like. So you don't have to do it like I did. You can add more droplets than I did. You can use more colors than I did, or you can use less. It's 100% up to you and what you have around your house. But I hope that you had fun today, and I can't wait to see you again next time. Thank you.